78 of TGW. I'm joined once again by Steve from Gamers Nexus.
Hello.
What's up, man? Even though we were just joking about this. We've been talking for a half hour, but at the start of every stream, we have to pretend like we just showed up.
Yeah, it's great to finally be talking to you.
Your hair is looking lovely as always.
Thank you.
So it's been a pretty crazy week here. I had like a couple of deadlines I had to hit for Monday and Tuesday videos. So today it was nice to be able to just kind of settle down and relax for TGW because it's always it's always easy to do this compared to like working on a video for 6 to 8 hours. Shooting, editing, all that stuff.
Right.
But I don't know. I don't know about. I'm sure you guys have a pretty strict schedule because you work with multiple people. But for me, like deadlines are always like I hate deadlines because I like to be able to just wake up and say, "What do you feel like working on today?"
Yeah, it's nice. That doesn't happen too much for me anymore. During these like the last month of the year, that's kind of how it is because all the releases kind of die down.
Yeah.
But no, it's pretty much it's very I know exactly what product we're talking about each day. Can be a lot of stress to keep up with it, but
It
definitely kicks you in the ass to keep moving. So
Yeah, it's like it's good and it's bad. Like it's nice to say, okay, I don't have to like come up with some creative idea because I know exactly what I'm doing. I
right.
just got to go over this product and talk about everything in it. But at the same time, I feel like it limits me sometimes. Like sometimes I just want to go find like some random thing or test a game or something, and I can't do that sometimes.
Yeah. Plenty of ideas come up where it's like, I guess I'll write it down, but no one's ever gonna get to that.
Yeah, I mean, there have been days where it's like I've been working on a video, but then a news story will crop up also, and I'm just like, I don't care. I'm just gonna do two videos today.
Yeah.
The news videos are pretty easy anyway. But yeah, Monday, I did a video. I had to honor an agreement with Video Blocks to get a video up with them,
Mm.
and then yesterday I did the Cooler Master Case Maker. I'm still struggling to say this name. I put an outtake at the end of my video. It's like try to say Cooler Master Case Maker 5 times fast. It's like I don't know what you think about the naming scheme. I think it's a bit much.
Yeah, like their liquid coolers, same thing where
Yep.
Master, what is it, Master Liquid or something?
Cooler Master Liquid. It's like
I can't stand that.
just
Like,
drop the double master at the very
right,
least. Just drop the double
Cooler
master.
Master Liquid.
There you go.
It's even shorter. You want
It's
that. That
it
means it's more
sounds
likely
good.
to, yeah, it's more
That's
likely to fit in bars and all this stuff.
that sounds very modern. Just going with the one word naming nomenclature.
Right, it's got to be all lowercase too, otherwise it
Abs-
doesn't fit.
Absolutely, and in Segu UI bold
Yeah.
font. Wait, that's what I use on my channel. Shit! Don't tell people my secret. So what have you been working on this week? Anything good? I saw you guys just
uh,
got up the S340 video, right?
yeah, S340 review, which honestly was because we had some other content planned and pushed it back. And I was looking around 2 nights ago, like, what can we do to cover for this hole in our content? It's like, oh, we already did all the numbers for the S340 when we reviewed the 570X. So that made it actually pretty fun to work on because it was just all the numbers were already done. Only took a few hours to go through all the rest of it. So that was the main thing. And then we just built up last night a GTX 1080 with the AlphaCool Ice Wolf, which is I don't know if it's available in the U.S. yet, but one of our readers sent it in as a loaner. So
Is that just an alternate cooler? Is that what that is? Like a
yeah,
liquid or air?
yeah. So it's a full block, full coverage liquid cooler for like a reference 1080, and that will, let's see, it covers the VRAM, the VRM. It touches every component on the board basically, and you sit there and install like all the thermal pads yourself. I made a joke in the video, which I'm sure will be up tomorrow or the next day,
Uh-huh.
but it took like 30 minutes to get all the pads in place and keep them there. And I was like, man, I don't blame EVGA for skipping out on thermal pads. Like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Takes forever. So yeah, we did that. That was pretty fun. That'll probably be up soon.
Very nice. Yeah, I've always liked the look of the S340s. I just haven't had a chance to work on any of those yet. But
That's
I've been
a
wanting to.
decent case. Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty. They're under $100 usually, right? Except I don't. I think the tempered glass is a little bit more, but usually they're what 100 for the.
100 for tempered glass and 70 for the mid tower
Yeah,
without it.
yeah, that's right, 70. Yeah, that's a really good deal for those cases because I remember looking at it, it's like they seem really well laid out.
Yeah.
That's what I look for usually more than anything. I mean, I like to match aesthetics, but usually I'm looking for is everything well laid out? Is it thought out?
Right.
I guess I was kind of spoiled by using Fractal design cases for a while because those were so well laid out with all their cable management and everything.
Yeah, Fractal and NZXT are top of the game for cable management for
And
sure.
Fantex also I'd put up there too.
Yeah, I haven't worked with Fantex cases in a little while. S340 Elite, the one thing it does really well that I like is they widened their cable management channel on the backside, and they added these plastic clamps so that they clamp down instead of using zip ties or Velcro or whatever. It's actually a really nice channeled plastic clamp to hold the cables in place.
Very nice. So, one thing I'm kind of before we get into the first topic, I'm a little bit stressed about tomorrow night because the Raiders got a big game against the Chiefs.
Someone
Uh,
someone just said in chat, is that a disgusting Raiders jersey?
that is an amazing Raiders jersey. I think that was a typo, sir. It's an amazing.
Autocorrect.
This is a little bit older one. This is when Randy Moss was with the Raiders. Not my favorite player, but hey, it fits me now. It used to fit me when I got it, and now it fits me again. So, I'm bringing it back.
Nice.
Yeah, my Raiders are 9-2, so they're looking quite good. If we get tomorrow night, we got a division game against the Chiefs though. If we win that and Miami loses, we're in the playoffs for like the first time since like I think 2003. And I was watching that game against the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers, and it was absolutely brutal. So glad to see the Raiders doing well. But you're not too much of an organized sports fan, right? You more into mountain biking and stuff.
Yeah, well, as I said before we started,
Yeah.
Raiders, that's a football team, right?
Yeah.
Have to go Google it. Yeah.
Yes. The Oakland Raiders, possibly soon to be the Reno or Las Vegas. No, the Las Vegas Raiders, possibly. They're looking to move the team, I guess, because I guess ticket sales are kind of down in Oakland and their lease is up. So
Okay.
they're looking to maybe move the team out to Las Vegas, which would be, I don't know. I mean, I don't really have any ties necessarily to the city of Oakland, not being from there, but I still kind of feel weird about the moving to Las Vegas.
I guess it gives you a reason to go to CES. It's the
There you
same
go.
area.
Well, the playoffs would be going on. Yeah, yeah, if they're in the playoffs too, especially certainly. Yeah, I'm not going to be going to CES this year. You're going though, right?
Yeah, I'll be at CES. We'll be there, 4 people in total.
I was it you I was talking to about that they had raised the requirements for that for followers.
Yeah.
It's like a million followers or something.
Yeah, like to we've never had trouble getting in, and the website helps with that. But I think last I checked, it said 1 million subscribers required for YouTube, which is absurd. Like,
So basically, Linus and MKBHD and Austin Evans are showing up. That's it.
right, like, and I doubt they will follow that policy very strictly because that would rule out Jay,
Everyone.
that would rule out Paul, Kyle, and these guys are not small time YouTubers or whatever, media outlets, whatever they call themselves. So I don't know. I have a feeling that's not going to really be followed too closely.
No, no, I don't think so. Like one of the companies that got in touch with me and like, "Oh, you're going to be out? You want to come by and check out our suite or whatever?" And I was just like, I was thinking to myself, I was like, "No, I don't have 1 million followers. I can't go. I'm sorry."
Not allowed. But one trick with CES, and I don't know if maybe viewers will find this kind of behind the scenes interesting, but CES actually not a whole lot goes on the show floor if you're media. So like,
That's what I've heard. Yeah, you need to
yeah,
yeah, if you're thinking about going out there and just like looking at stuff, like to meet people, like it's not going to happen. You need to have the appointments before you get there.
yeah, you need the appointments, but also you don't necessarily need a badge. So if for some reason you wanted to go and they really won't give you a badge, which I would think they would, but if they didn't, you'd still hit most of the meetings because most of them are in like the Venetian, the Bellagio, the Caesars. They are all over the strip. There's not really a whole lot going on for media in the convention center. And for anyone who's ever thought about going to CES, it's cool, definitely cool to be at, but your kind of like first introduction can be a little disappointing because walking around the first floor of some of the halls, it's like 100% cell phone cases straight from the factories in China, and it's not that interesting. But once you kind of get past that and get to either like the automotive stuff or NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, those guys, then it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I really liked PAX though. I liked PAX West a lot. I'm planning to go to PAX East again next year. Or I haven't gone to PAX East, but PAX East instead of PAX West.
Yeah, PAX is a good
I,
one.
I might do West also. It's good because they have. It's not just games. They've also got a lot of tech there, which I don't think usually gets covered by some of the media. But there's a lot of tech companies there. Like everyone's there.
Yeah.
All the big guys.
Yeah, there's not a lot of competition for tech coverage. And there's always some cool game technology if you can get like a programmer, you can learn a lot about the engines and how the actual programming works.
Yeah, definitely. And most of the tech booths I went to up to, because like you said, there wasn't a lot of competition for coverage. I was always able to get a hold of someone there,
Yeah.
even though I only had an appointment with AMD. But ended up being able to get interviews with every single company that was there.
Oh yeah, yeah, easy.
Nvidia, Corsair, Cooler Master, Logitech. All of them were like ready and willing and able. Like, let's go.
Mm.
All right, so let's get fired here to our first topic here with the RX 490, which well, no, it's actually still showing up on this website. What is .no? Which I don't know what country that is.
What was the dot?
.no?
Isn't that Norway?
That's what I was thinking. I thought initially it was German, but I was like, no, this is not
That's
German.
the.
No, I mean just by looking at the language. I mean on the website, I didn't
right.
But then I checked the .no, and I was like, that's not.
Oh yeah, it is Norway. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's called Price Guide, basically PRIS Guide. It's still up on there, the RX 490. It doesn't show any specs, and you can clearly see that the image on there is very likely a placeholder of the RX 480, which Digital Trends, pointed out. But they're kind of talking about possibly seeing this GPU maybe even coming before the end of the year. They talk about possibly at the Zen announcement event on December 13th, and I hear Steve snickering over there because I already know he's disagreeing with that point. So I'll let you take that one away.
Yeah, I mean, Digital Trends. I've met a few of them. They're decent editors. I do disagree with that statement though. The window is gone for end of year launches. And the event next week for Zen, I don't. Maybe there'll be a Vega showing, but I really don't think AMD would compete with themselves for coverage that way. You're not going to announce Zen and Vega and show them physically working the same event. Hopefully, maybe they will. I don't know, but I would think you kind of want to focus your coverage on one thing to not split attention between news organizations. Vega does. Whether or not they talk about it at the event, I am about 99% sure it won't be available for sale by the end of the year.
Oh yeah, certainly. That was like kind of my takeaways. Maybe they'll, I don't know. Maybe they could say, okay, here's Zen running on one of our upcoming GPU architecture or something like that. I was thinking maybe they could show it, but like you said, this late in the year, they don't have anywhere near enough runway to get sales done by Christmas.
Yeah.
Especially with how cards quickly usually sell out. I mean, it's just going to be a bunch of disappointed people saying, "I'm not going to have a card till 2017."
Yeah, it would be out like instantly, and I don't know that they want to fight with that.
Yeah, and then you also got to. I mean, then people like gamers that want to buy them, they also got to compete with the data miners and stuff like Bitcoin and all that stuff. But yeah, I am looking forward to seeing this. We have another story here that kind of ties in with this, with the RX 490, talking about some benchmarks that had shown up, which was asserted that was the RX 490 being tested on Ashes of the Singularity, even though it's not labeled. It's listed as a GPU ID number of 678FC1. So usually it would actually tell you what the GPU is, GTX 1080, what have you. And this is putting up GTX 1080 like performance, but it's not showing up as a GTX 1080. But that doesn't really seem very likely. You were pointing something out earlier. What was that again?
I was just pointing out the settings that we have in the screenshot, and I don't know 100% if this is what they were run at. Sometimes the images for articles don't necessarily match what they're talking about, but if you look at the screenshot, it's this is the hot hardware article I'm looking at by Rob Williams, a friend of mine actually from TechGauge.
Yep.
The image indicates they've got half resolution terrain turned on. They have mid shadows. They have low glare quality, which is not the biggest impact, and it looks like MSAA might be on. But there's enough settings tuning there that, and if you look at resolution, like clearly it's broken. So I don't know, I don't know if that's really indicative of what it was run at. I haven't run Ashes in a little while, but those settings have been tuned a bit. So I don't know. Take it with a big grain of salt, because you'd have to make sure you run whatever card you're comparing it against at the same settings. And also, Ashes ultimately is a benchmark. It's tuned for benchmarking. Both vendors are tuning for it. It's not necessarily always representative of performance in other games. That's true when you benchmark any game, but particularly Ashes.
Yeah. So what you're saying, are you saying that maybe since their numbers are tweaked, that's why it looks like it's matching the GTX 1080, because maybe the 1080 would be tested at ultra with similar performance?
Yeah, and honestly, I haven't researched this too heavily. I haven't gone and like looked through their results page to see
Right.
exactly what 1080 they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so with that in mind, just looking at the settings here, the settings are kind of lowered, at least in some respect. So, and that's not to say it can't be as good as a 1080, but it's to say that we would have to 100% know that they were run at the same options to, to really truly compare them.
Yeah, and I also think it would be a little odd if the 490 were to come out, it's very anytime soon and really be competing directly with the GTX 1080. I would have thought the 1070 would be more of the target, being the next price segment up from where the RX 480 is right now.
Right.
Probably seeing these around like $350 to $400 if it were to launch. But I think it would it would be interesting to see them competing even with the 1070 there. But if it comes out at that price point and it's competing with the 1080, then I mean that's AMD's for the taking, really.
Yeah, well, either way, I think 1070 is a good market because you look at the 970 and it was the most popular, like the most bought video card.
Yeah.
So obviously that price point is a good one. But at the same time, you go up to like the 1080 if you're competing with a 1080. That's kind of the Halo market area where you're targeting like Halo marketing effect, trying to be the top of the benchmarks. And so your hope is that if you're at the top of the benchmarks, if people can't afford it, hopefully they'll still buy your product at the lower end because they're trusting that if you're at the top end, then you'll be good at the low end. So either way, they have a good opportunity to strike. It's just I don't know that I would trust the early numbers too much.
Yeah, I haven't looked at any specific sales figures, but I don't feel like the 1070 kind of sold this time around compared to the 970. It kind of seemed like there was more people interested going after the 1060 and the RX 480.
Yeah, I'm not sure how popular. Like I don't know the sales numbers off the top of my head, but um, they also had issues with availability for at least a month after
Yeah,
launch, so that certainly eats into it a bit. The 1060 was far more available.
yeah,
I don't.
the 1060 and 480s were fairly available when they first launched out.
Yeah, and the 480 sold out too, but they did have a lot around. They got them back in stock fairly quickly. The one thing I'm looking at this Digital Trends article again, they've got some 3D Mark alleged scores at the bottom as well, which another point here, I don't know how much I'd trust it, but I guess those are the rumored benchmarks for now. And also, this is kind of just a side note. The Ashes benchmark, that may be run internally. We don't know. Maybe someone ran it internally and screwed up. But the 3D Mark stuff, who knows if they're even using drivers made for that card? I don't know where these numbers originated. I don't think they tell us.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's very vague.
yeah. See, so you don't know where they came from. Maybe some outlet in China managed to get their hands on one out of the factory or something like that. That happens, but it doesn't mean that drivers are ready for it. So you should never really trust those numbers.
Yeah, certainly. We did have another thing in here with AMD. This is switching over to the processor side along with Intel. Initially, there was an article posted over on Hard OCP back in what was it earlier in the spring. They mentioned. I remember covering that on TGW back in the spring, where they had talked about possibly utilizing Radeon's iGPUs in Intel processors for the integrated graphics.
Right.
And now this has come up again with Kyle Bennett of Hard OCP saying that AMD and Intel have basically penned an agreement behind closed doors that could possibly see the Radeon iGPU technology showing up in Intel processors. Now, I guess the question really is will they actually put it in under that branded name as the Radeon iGPU, or could they possibly just be working with them to sell parts of the technology that they could be using in their own integrated graphics, if it's all true at the end of the day, because this is still just rumor right now.
Right. Yeah, and Kyle, he's been in the industry for a while. He does really good work. Some of his testing is top tier. He's
Yeah.
also, though, a bit of a controversial figure,
Yes.
and he knows that. So, uh, but yeah, assuming that's true, it's interesting news. I really don't know what exactly Intel would want to strip out of there. Their IGPs have gotten a lot better. I think AMD still beats them if you benchmark them in games. just like IGP for IGP. So there's probably stuff they could get, but like you're saying, how much of that is like just wanting to take specific patents or IP and license it versus actually putting in the full chip, like you were just saying.
Yeah, because there very well could just be maybe one or two parts that they want to go ahead and utilize that they don't want to develop in house themselves and put all the money into R&D. It could be easier to just go to AMD and say, "Hey, here's a bunch of money.
Right, give
Give
us
us
your
this."
encoder or whatever. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. But it could be interesting to see. I mean, especially if they actually did it under the branded name, that would be really intriguing to see that Intel and AMD logos on the same box.
Yeah, and this I don't think that'll necessarily happen, but kind of one interesting point out of there is, yeah, there's I think I still see a lot of talk online, forums, Reddit, wherever, that seems people still seem to think that AMD and Intel are like the biggest rivals. I don't know that Intel really sees AMD as their biggest concern right now. They've got ARM really taking market share fast in other markets, and that's probably more concerning to them.
Yeah, because while enthusiast desktop market is really what intrigues us primarily, as far as the global scale is concerned, which is the biggest chunk of Intel's pie, it's really all about the mobile market right now.
Yeah, mobile
And
and
that
server, yeah.
mobile and server, and in the mobile market, they're competing directly with ARM, just like you said right there, and they are falling behind fast.
Yeah, and server enterprise Intel a while ago, maybe 2 years ago, had more than 90% of the enterprise market, like servers, for CPUs. But I don't know what those numbers are today. I know ARM has a good number of there are CPUs that are using ARM in server now, and some of them are pretty hefty in terms of core count. So that's probably where Intel would be the most concerned. Now, as far as licensing, uh, as we were talking about before the show, Intel and AMD already have some cross-licensing agreements, so this is not necessarily new that they would do this. They license x86 and x64, we'll call it, between each other. So, so they've done it in the past. They have, I guess, a working relationship in that regard.
Yeah, yeah, certainly. So yeah, this is something we'll definitely have to keep an eye on. If it's going to make integrated GPUs a little bit stronger for Intel, it could certainly be good news for them.
Yeah.
It's not something I'm not going to use it for gaming anytime soon, but but if hey, you never know if they actually get it fast enough to have a budget system where you don't need to go out and buy like a 1050 Ti, then it could be pretty good to see. I've always kind of liked that option because I remember like it was like 4 or 5 years ago when I got back into PC gaming. For about a month, I was running off of Intel integrated graphics because I could only afford to get everything at the time besides the graphics card. I had the boot SSD. I still needed a mechanical drive. I still needed to get a GTX 680 at the time, and it was just like I just had integrated graphics in a very small SSD, and it's like I was basically able to play like Call of Duty at 720p 60 FPS.
That's pretty impressive, to be honest.
It was I think it was Black Ops 2 at the time, or Black
right.
Ops 1, maybe Black Ops 1 actually.
Right.
Yeah, it worked.
There's something to be said for that because probably, I don't know, depending on the SSD you bought, that might be able to get you like a low end GTX 750 or whatever the equivalent was at the time.
Yeah, 700 series wasn't even here yet. This was like
right.
This was like right after the 680 came out. I remember deciding between that and the 7970.
Right. Yeah. So I think one argument I've been, and I would be curious to see what chat thinks of this, but if you're building a system and you're on a budget, you've got this decision point where it's like, depending on your budget range, well, I could peel off $100 and put it towards 240 gigabyte or even 500 gigabyte SSD, depending on the sales, and go with no video card for now, or a really cheap video card, or I could just get a $50 hard drive and put more towards the GPU. And from one perspective, I would kind of, and this is probably just me being more experienced with building systems at this point and not really wanting to screw around with stuff. I almost feel like I'd rather have the SSD just so I don't have to reinstall the environment.
That was my thought process back at the time. I was like really scrimping and saving to get this build together. Like I went ahead and bought the case like in November, and I don't think I finally got the PC together until like May.
Yeah.
And then there's just like I was just over 5-6 months just kind of piecing everything together. Like okay, I can get the case. I don't need to worry about technology changing there.
Right, yeah.
Stuff like that. I was just like, I'm going to leave the major components like the CPU, motherboard, and GPU to the end because things might change between now and then. But everything else, I just kind of went out and bought one at a time, which I really wouldn't advise many people to do. It's not really a good way to go about it, I don't think, in most cases, because anything could change now and you'll see something else you want.
Yeah, it would suck too if you, like you said, if you save the core components to last, you're probably okay. But
Yeah.
if you don't follow computing that closely and you buy DDR3 and suddenly everything as it has done switches to DDR4, that would kind of suck. So,
Yeah, certainly.
yeah, I try to build it all at once, but I can definitely understand why you save up. And if you save up and buy the GPU last, at least you have a functional computer in the meantime.
Yeah, I was basically I was just terrible at saving money at the time, so I was just like, I need to, because if I have this money sitting here, I was like, I'm gonna spend it, so I just need to go out and
Right.
buy these components because it's like if I have the case already, I'll feel like inspired to make sure I buy everything else so that I didn't waste my money on the case. That was
That's
my
true.
thought process. That
Yeah.
was my thought. If you're bad at saving money, then it might be a good way to go.
Yeah. If it forces you to not spend it on something else. So.
Exactly. All right. So next up, we've got Amazon Go. This was really interesting. We were just talking last week about deep machine learning and all that stuff, and this is certainly working into that as well. So right now, Amazon Go is basically a grocery store. They've got like pre-prepared foods and drinks, stuff, snacks, and things like that. They only have one location right now in Seattle, Washington, and it's in beta, so it's only available to Amazon employees. But pretty soon, it's going to be available to the general public. And basically what it is that you go into the store and you don't need to wait in line for checkout, because as long as you've got the Amazon Go app on your smartphone, you just walk into the store and you could pick something up off the shelf, and it doesn't charge you for it onto your Amazon account until you've actually walked out the door with that product. So they can track with if you pick something up and then change your mind and put it back
Right.
down. They see all of that, and I was mostly interested as to how how they're doing all of this. Like what is tracking? How do they know? Like what like how
Well,
do they know?
yeah, we don't know a whole lot. They didn't do much beyond that teaser video.
Yeah.
Because of course, no one, the marketing doesn't care. They're like, all right, we got to name this thing. Let's go. Get out the door.
Don't worry about it. It works.
Right. Yeah. Right. Meanwhile, developers are like, that's not really how it works. So yeah, all we know is that it uses cameras in the store and it uses machine learning. So yeah, it could be anything from the shelves are weighted, or the shelves are somehow basically a scale interacting with the device. And maybe they've defined this. I don't think they have, but if they have, I'm sure someone will correct me.
Yes.
But
they like to do that.
yeah, but yeah, it could be a weighted shelf. It could be just the camera's actually watching and has that level of resolution and detail and tracking abilities.
That's scary. That's
Right.
Actually.
Yeah, and this is. I remember years ago when I did a tour of a company, they gave us a presentation on their CCTV technology that's licensed and used in England, and talking about how many hundreds of thousands of faces it can recognize and match in a database in a second. Yeah, that's pretty damn scary.
Yeah.
So the technology exists to use it at a store level.
Yeah,
But
certainly. Usually, you see that stuff at the government level. Usually, they have the implementation first, and then it becomes available. And then you see a company like this taking a chance with it, and eventually it becomes so cheap anyone can have it.
Yeah,
that's kind of the way it usually goes.
What do you think about? Let's ignore the technology side for a second. So you've got cameras. Let's assume it's cameras because that's what they say it is. Cameras tracking every move you do in a store, tracking what you pick up, what you put down. How do you feel about that?
I feel rather uneasy about it. I feel like they would just be using that to collect my data in the same way that they do with the Echo thing or whatever. When you put that in your home, like it's part of the user agreement, saying that you'll allow Amazon to basically listen in on any of your conversations so that they can better enhance your user experience as a consumer, which is a loose way of saying we can listen to everything you say and then sell it to other marketing companies. That's my tinfoil hat anyway.
Yeah,
I mean, chances are it might not go that deep, but it could theoretically. I mean, you're technically allowing them to.
I think a tinfoil hat for this kind of thing is acceptable.
I agree.
Because there's precedent. There's precedent for privacy violation. So, it's tricky. Like, we deal with advertising definitely on the website, on the YouTube channel. I deal with that all the time, and there's some level of tracking in ads. Certainly, we do mostly direct sales on Gamers Nexus, but ad tracking is not new, and people get pretty upset about that sometimes. This is far more advanced. um, so it's more stuff to go into building a profile on every person, and I don't really know how I feel about that. It's technologically, it's really damn cool, but who's in control of that data?
Yeah, and then most people, they always just make the arguments. Well, I have nothing to hide. I don't care if the government knows that I like
Right.
ham and cheese sandwiches on Wednesdays.
Right. Yeah. It's like, well, if you don't do anything wrong, why should you care? I don't know that that's a good argument either.
Yeah, but who's to say that at some point in time that thing that you're doing won't eventually become wrong?
Right. And then you go, Department of Corrections, like George Orwell, reuse it on you or something. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, like recently that thing with the with proxies. Now they basically the FBI is saying that if you use any form of proxy, that it basically flags you as a criminal to them. So then they have the right to go ahead and look into everything that you do.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, there's a couple countries too that have problems with VPNs and things like that.
Oh, England's terrible for it.
Yeah.
They don't like encryption.
Yeah. Well, they're not alone.
Yeah, I know. The America's going the same way now. Like the England had a law passed that allowed them
Dubai's
to
got some pretty rough VPN rules too. Like, you'll go to what I was reading is it's a jailable offense. So I don't know how serious that is. I'm not a political analyst. Like, fair warning.
I wouldn't be surprised in Dubai. What was that YouTuber's name that almost got thrown in jail? Gigi Gorgeous.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Gigi Gorgeous got held up there at customs. They wouldn't let her into the country because she was trans.
Oh, okay.
Like, Dubai's pretty tough, so I don't think I'd be going to Dubai anytime soon because I have private internet access on my phone all the time. So I wouldn't go there.
Yes, I mean, the Amazon thing, I guess, like, technologically, again, really cool.
Yes.
Machine learning can be used for great things, like self-driving cars. That's another one where I'm like, man, the benefit of these is tremendous. Now, I like driving and I like being in control of my car, but of course the argument is probably the machine, once it knows what it's doing, will be better than you. So it's really interesting territory. That's why I liked Wendell's take on it last week, because he knows that stuff pretty well. So
yeah, it's scary, but at the same time it's exciting because it feels like the future in a lot of ways. Like, if you remember, like the movie Minority Report, like when you'd walk, like the guy would walk onto the train, like all the advertisements would change to greet you and advertise specifically to you. It's like,
I think that'll happen. I think,
absolutely, absolutely.
Advertisements,
but at the same
time,
it's so scary. It's like, constantly adapting advertisements, like it scans your retina or whatever, or in this case, it's very likely RF chips in your phone.
Right.
So it might start off with RF chips and then eventually move on to things like retina scanning.
That's a good point, actually. I didn't think about that side of things, where inside the Amazon store, which it feels a little less malicious that way, but if they've got ads that or whatever, like someone was saying, being able to track with this technology if someone is more likely to buy something if it's 2 for 1 versus 50% off, which is of course the same thing, but psychologically one of those might be more appealing to you.
So they can so the marketers in the future can say, well, we'll advertise it this way to that person, even though it's the same deal.
Right. Yeah. So I'm really curious to see how that works out. And curiosity here is almost morbid, because obviously it's being, I don't know that used against you is really the right term, because you're still willingly buying a product. It's not trying to harm you. They're trying to make money, of course.
Yep.
But yeah, it's interesting. I'm not really sure. I think it's a big ethical question for the future, all the machine learning stuff.
Yeah, and that can go down to every minute level. I mean, marketing goes into everything. I mean, when they're designing a logo or whatever, a label, they talk about everything: shapes, fonts, colors, all of that. What feeling does this color incite in a person? Does it incite, this race of people to buy something and this race of people to hate it? Everything comes into play. So, yeah, it's scary, but at the same time exciting. All right, so next up we've got Halo 5. So if you remember, a few months back, they actually launched the Halo Forge map editor on Windows 10, so you can actually get on there and edit maps. But unfortunately, it was only for people on the Xbox One to utilize. So you could make maps on the PC for Xbox One players to use in multiplayer, which was like kind of BS. But now, starting tomorrow, they're going to be introducing the server browser, which they had said from the beginning they were going to add in later on. So it's only been like maybe 3 or 4 months, if that, since this launched on the PC, and now we're going to be able to get a custom server browser, which is awesome, which means you'll be able to go download the Halo Forge map editor, which is free. It's free on the Windows Store. If you're on Windows, I think you have to be on Windows 10 or the Windows 10 anniversary update.
Yeah.
Probably wouldn't be surprised there. And then you can go on there and you can search custom games and just have basically an open server browser. This is like a free Halo game on PC, which is awesome. I love Halo.
Yeah, the last time I played Halo on PC was Halo Custom or CE Custom Edition. The box I have says Custom Edition,
Yeah.
even though it was Combat Evolved. But that was really fun. I enjoyed that a lot because it was moddable. And Halo 2 was on there, but I think it was a Vista only title, so I never did play it on PC. But yeah.
Yeah, my last experience with Halo was, I don't know how long ago it was, maybe like 5-6 months ago. I actually did a video on it because they did a modded version of the Russian free-to-play thing combined with Halo 3.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, you could actually get on there and at least be able to play Halo and kind of satisfy that craving. So I'm looking forward to trying this out, certainly.
Yeah, is this a sold access, I guess, or is this free? This is sold, right?
No, this is free.
Oh, okay, sweet. Well,
Yeah,
cool. I might play around with it.
I don't think they're adding on a cost for the server browser. It'd be kind of
Right.
shitty if they did because the Halo 5 Forge on PC was already free.
Right.
You just got to go ahead and download it, and then you can play it. It's completely free. So this seems just like it's adding a way to browse between maps. So if you create a map, you can go ahead and launch a lobby. I guess I don't know. I guess it's going to be run on local servers probably with a host, very
Right.
likely. Yeah, we'll have to see how that. I'm not sure how that's all going to work as far as if it's a local host or if they're going to have actual what's the word I'm looking for? Dedicated servers.
Yeah.
Yeah, dedicated servers or anything. It'll probably be run on local host though, so host advantage is back. I remember that in like Call of Duty back in the day on Xbox. It's like
Yeah.
you're the first one to load in. You've got like no ping. It's like yeah. It's like I'm host. Get ready to get wrecked. Don't leave the lobby until you've gone on a 10-game win streak.
Yeah, it's a good way to get people to download or use Windows 10, I guess, or Anniversary Edition, which is probably what they want.
Yeah, that was like my big thing is like I was holding back on getting Windows 10. I didn't update to Windows 10 until the Gears remaster came out.
Yeah,
And that's exactly what I was waiting for.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to benchmark this game, and I was gonna just do it on a secondary PC, but I already had it running on the second PC for a while, and I got used to it over there. So I was just like, all right, I guess when I rebuild my rig, I'm just gonna install Windows 10 and let Microsoft steal all my data and then sell it to Amazon Go.
That's right. Yeah. We see you like Halo 5. Here's this Mountain Dew or Red Bull or whatever. Yeah.
Yes.
That's the future. What's our Bulletstorm news?
So Bulletstorm is releasing the Full Clip Edition, which is basically just a remastered version of a rather mediocre game. And they're releasing it as free for the consoles as a free update, but on the PC, it's not going to be free. You actually have to go shell out $50 for the remaster. And Randy Pitchford, who is not my favorite individual in the games industry by far, actually came out and defended it. And what he said actually makes sense is that their Gearbox is actually not the publisher of this. This was originally developed by People Can Fly, which was the team that kind of took over for Epic when they stopped doing the Gears game. They worked on one of the Gears games, and then they did Bulletstorm. So I mean, I enjoyed the game. I thought some of it was rather fun, but I would certainly not go out and spend $50 on a remaster of a game that I actually already own on the. I have it on the GameStop downloadable games app. So yeah, you could tell how keen I am to go play that game. I don't
Yeah,
even have
really.
that app. Yeah, that app is horrible. I don't know what I was thinking. Like I think I bought Assassin's Creed 3 and that on there, and I was just like, yeah, never again.
Yeah, there's something to be said for competition for Steam, but also that kind of some of it's just really inconvenient.
Yeah, I remember I had gotten Assassin's Creed 3 on there, and I had to I downloaded it through the GameStop app, and then all that. I mean, Steam does this too, where they launch Uplay for you if you buy a Ubisoft game.
Yeah.
But with the GameStop one, I actually had to download it a second time for Uplay. I had to download the same game twice. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I've had that just annoys me in general too. Like with Watch Dogs, we're dealing with that. Is Steam and Uplay auto launching each other, and I think I had an issue even where I couldn't download it through Uplay because like I bought it on Steam, preloaded it, and on another machine I thought, oh, I can just log into Uplay and load it here, but I think it still required me to go through Steam kind of annoying.
Yeah, I usually will always buy like the Ubisoft games. I'll get them through Uplay, or I'll find it on a key site to get it for Uplay
Right.
cheaper. And I was gonna do that this time because I could have got it for $45 on CD keys. It was, but the reason I didn't is that I was just like I was afraid that the game was gonna be crap and poorly optimized. So I was
Right.
like, I'm gonna go through Steam so I can get a refund after I'm done with making my video on this thing. But I actually kept it because I did enjoy the game. Ended up keeping that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I went bought it early just to make sure we could preload it and get content because I didn't have early access to the game this time. So, um, I kind of have to pre-order, which I don't normally recommend. But
yeah,
if you're making content, you really don't
exactly.
have a choice.
That's what I tell people. I'll tell people is just like, yeah, I don't even call it pre-ordering. I buy it like the day before,
Right.
just so I can download it and so I can get content out. But this time I had went to bed early that night, so you actually beat me on that video. Usually I'm pretty quick to get those things out though. You beat me this time, Steve, but just this time, never again. That's the problem with being a tech channel, and you try contacting a games company and say, "Oh yeah, I want to do a performance video on your game."
Yeah, they don't know
Oh,
what
so
that
you're going to
is.
review it? No,
Right.
I'm not going to review it. I just want to tell people how shitty it runs. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, we're going to pass on that. We're actually out of review codes. We're out of them. We completely ran out of that intangible
Digital
item.
codes, right? Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, Bulletstorm basically, if you want to get the full clip edition, $50. So be prepared to pony up for that if you're really keen on playing the remaster, or just play the original. You can. It's probably not going to look that much better anyway than the remaster version, but you can get it. I think you can get this game for like $5 probably. You can probably find it for $5. I know I've seen it for $5 on Steam in the past, so just get that. All right, so last kind of gaming topic here: Sniper Elite 4. Did you play the previous Sniper Elites?
No, I think I benchmarked one of them for a few minutes, and that was about it.
Yeah, I really, really liked Sniper Elite 2. I think it was the best one in the series. Sniper Elite 3, I felt kind of cheated that I spent $60 on it, and it was a really short game. I think me and my friend liked the co-op a lot, so that's why we picked it up. But it was $60, and we ended up caning through the campaign in about 3.5 hours, which was really disappointing. Even though it was fun, it just felt like a lot of reused assets from the second one, just in a
Right.
different setting in the desert area, and this one seems to be continuing with that. So it's somewhat disappointing to me as a fan of the series, seeing them kind of doing that, and just seems like they're really reusing all of the desert assets from Sniper Elite 3 here, but it's set in Italy now, as opposed to the other one was set in Africa. Really, for the next one, I'd like to see them go to the Pacific Theater. I think
That'd
that
be
would
pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of the like flying Ace Combat type games that are Pacific Theater. Those were fun back in the day.
Yeah, I try to imagine like how a sniper warfare would play out in the Japanese, the Pacific Theater. With, I mean, I have to assume jungle combat would be part of that. I don't know how
Right.
much stuff would be happening in cities. Most of this stuff kind of happens in cities and forts, but I think it would be interesting to see maybe some more infantry combat. If you're a sniper in infantry combat as a sniper, I think that'd be really fun. I would definitely love to check that out. But I'll end up probably playing this as well because once again they're a lot of fun to play in co-op, and I have a buddy I always do co-op with, so I'm sure we'll have a good time.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
just hope we get a little more content.
Co-op is when it works on PC, it's pretty rare, but I love when there's either like same screen or split screen co-op on a PC because it's perfect for HTBC gaming.
Yeah, hardly ever do I see much split screen stuff, which is unfortunate. And then a lot of other games that I want to play online co-op for, I find are only split screen, like the Lego games.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like the Lego games, I would love to play that online with the same friend that I play these games with, but we can't because they're only for couch co-op, and
Right.
I think those games seem like they're made for co-op, and it's disappointing. But yeah, I'll be looking forward to playing this. I just hope it's a little bit longer than the last one.
Yeah.
And they usually have benchmarks, so that's always nice.
Benchmarking is the best feature in the game.
Exactly. I love benchmarks. It's like, oh, it's got a. I always go to the extras menus. Like, does it have a benchmark? It does. Yeah, my favorite thing. All right. So next up, we're going to be talking about Khronos and trying to establish an open VR standard. Do you want to take this one, Steve?
Sure. So the news here is that the Khronos Group, which is sort of the collective that works on Vulkan, OpenGL, WebGL, those types of APIs, Khronos Group is now looking into working on a new standard for VR. And this is a big problem in the industry right now because everyone's piling onto VR. They're all trying to make their devices. These devices have really complex requirements for either API, well, definitely APIs, but also their runtimes. So I don't know exactly how deep Khronos Group's open standard is intended to go, but if there's some kind of sharing of what's going on within the runtime, then that could really make for more easily available cross-compatible gameplay with devices, with games that might be exclusive to one device. So the runtime, for people who don't know, basically your VR render pipeline is every 11 milliseconds you're expecting a frame, and that's because the headset's refreshing at 90 hertz. So that's every 11 milliseconds there should be a new frame. And if there's not, it's bad, and it's worse than traditional gaming where if you miss a frame, okay, maybe it stutters, maybe it tears, who cares, move on. VR, from firsthand experience, I can tell you, if you have enough warp misses or frame drops, it gets really unpleasant. You can get headaches if it's really bad. So the runtime sits at the end of this pipe. It's the last couple milliseconds, 3 to 5 max normally, and basically you work on drawing your frame that entire time. The GPU is drawing the frame, hits the runtime, and basically says, am I ready to present this frame? Yes. Okay, let's send that to the runtime. It'll take care of the rest, handle things like the warps and if needed reprojection, things like that. So hopefully the Khronos Group will be doing something to kind of unify these standards with the way the runtimes work and the APIs, because right now there's no single solution between Rift and Vive and whatever else there may be.
Now, my question is, do you think this will help in limiting the likelihood of seeing certain games being exclusive to one headset or the other?
That's what I would hope, because well, there's two reasons to be exclusive. Two main reasons, anyway.
Money.
One is right, money or marketing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what my fear was with Valkyrie. It was like, was it an API thing, an API decision early on to stick with Oculus, or was it just we're going to pay you to put this exclusive in Oculus so we can sell Oculus?
Right. Yeah. So it's either money or it's technology, and at least one of the VR vendors, I don't remember who it is, so I won't try and guess. But one of the two major VR vendors, HTC or Oculus, said something about trying to limit the amount of exclusive titles between the two, because it's a new platform. Exclusives are arguably unhealthy for the platform because there's not a ton of adoption, so you really don't want to limit your title availability. So then, of course, the other question is, well, technologically, is it easy to port? And it might not be, because I don't know the specifics of the APIs, but they are different, and the same is true for the runtime. So there definitely would be at least some kind of adaptation you'd have to do at the code level.
Yeah, and also before I had, like, when I was reading this over earlier, my fear was just like, is VR already dying? Because it seems like we got Valkyrie. That seems like, to me, like the only major AAA title that we saw come out this year for VR, and that was a launch title.
Yeah, there's I guess Valkyrie. If you're looking at kind of like traditional games, then Dirt Rally has a VR version now, Oculus only. There's a couple others. Abduction with an O, Oculus only. That's the next version of Myst, and actually looks kind of cool. And then on the Rift, you have the usual mix of like raw data and movement-based games. So, which is unfortunate, because if you have a Rift and you wanted to play Dirt Rally, you could do it, but you'd have to use Revive or some other kind of hack-together solution, and it doesn't always work well.
Yeah, so that's like, I was like kind of waiting for more titles to come out to decide to pick up a headset. I'm pretty sure I'd probably end up getting the Vive, because I think the tech in there is maybe a little bit better. Just based, especially, and since I used both of them back in April, I thought the Vive was better than the Rift as far as responsiveness and just limiting on the screen door effect compared to Oculus.
Yeah, right.
I felt it a little bit more on Oculus personally. Did you have a preference between either one?
I have answered this question a few times, and I think my answer kind of changes every time based on what I've used recently. The Rift is coming out, or has just come out, with those touch controllers. That changes things a bit. I haven't tried them yet. But with my current knowledge of them, ignoring price, I'd probably lean towards the Vive if I had to, just because it is a little more capable for unique experiences. Now, in general, I've been kind of vocal about really hating a lot of VR too. I don't necessarily recommend buying right now, because for people who kind of like traditional games, if you are a game player who likes things that are focused on mechanics, there's not a lot out there for you right now. Story's getting there. Story will happen eventually, but it's really a lot of experiences and tech demos, and then a couple of okay games, and the mechanics of them are about as deep as mobile games in a lot of the cases. Now, raw data is pretty decent. We'll see how far they go with that, but I'm still I'm halfway on the VR boat.
Yeah, my reaction after I first tried it was at one of the Acer events, and I got to try all of them. And my opinion at the time hasn't changed from then, is that it's just not ready yet.
Yeah,
it didn't feel ready yet. And for me right now, I'm waiting for one of those big AAA titles that pulls me in, or probably Star Citizen. I think when Star Citizen comes out, if that has VR support, I'll probably pick one up for that, because I think it would be awesome to play that in VR. And it lends itself well to VR as well, being that you're just sitting in a cockpit most of the time.
Yeah, and Elite Dangerous is available on the Rift. It's got some pretty nasty frame times. Some reason it gets stuck at like 22 milliseconds.
I love Elite Dangerous too. That's unfortunate.
Yes, or sorry, I said the Rift. I think I meant the Vive. The Rift, I think it works better on the Rift. The Vive, it gets stuck at 22 milliseconds for me. So, it's almost there. It's pretty damn cool, Elite Dangerous with the headset. Now, that's obviously not a movement-based game, so I am more inclined to like those right now than the movement-based ones, because their mechanics are just so simple. But Elite Dangerous, it basically is just a better monitor strapped to your face, so it's hard to be mad about that.
Yeah, it's an absolutely insane experience. Having played the Eve Valkyrie, I can imagine how it would compare to that, and that was like the best one. That's the best thing I played by far, because it was especially like getting into a dogfight, because usually I feel very limited with a monitor. You got someone flies over your head, and you just kind of you guys kind of got to swim around with your ship until you just rediscover him. But with this, you can really just look up and then follow him and track him and just go where he is. It's amazing. You cannot match that on a monitor. You can't.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Valkyrie is the best tech demo for that, for sure. And I would say like the technology of the headsets is very good. It's basically here. 90 hertz refresh rate's what we needed, and a lot of games are able to hit it with the right optimizations and the right video card. But obviously still very expensive. And then I got a couple people disliked when I did the last video and article on this, where I basically said don't buy day one VR headset launches, because it's two-sided. One side, early adopters are what make this stuff live, but also you don't want to be the person who buys it and you're like, man, I just don't like these games. And it's such a subjective thing. The best thing you can do, unfortunately, is try it for yourself, and that's still not necessarily easy to do. So
yeah, with any tech purchase, really the best way to go about it is to be knowledgeable. Make a knowledgeable purchase decision.
Right. Yeah.
Do your research, know what you're getting into.
Yeah, and if you can't find a place to demo them, find a reviewer with whom you generally agree on their game reviews, and then maybe listen to them, because that's reviews are subjective for games by nature, and they should be. And so it's your job to find one you normally like, and then try and base it off their opinions.
Absolutely agree. Next up, we've got Cooler Master. They just launched the MasterCase Maker 5T. Try saying that 5 times fast. I literally just did a video about this yesterday. So, did you want to mention anything about this, Steve? And I can maybe field any questions, or
a lot more than me about this. Yes,
it's a nice case. It's a very nice case.
Yeah, so I like. It looks like it's got basically a pretty familiar like Storm series bar on top.
It's the exact same handle. They just repurposed it for this chassis.
Right. And so here's the question I have is, if you look at the side shot of it, you can see those optical drives, but then you look at the front of it, and there's no, we don't have exposure to those. So how are they?
So basically that's all part of their freeform modular thing. So you can decide, that front piece, it has a couple of plastic hook that latches it in, but otherwise it's just held on with magnets.
Right.
So the magnets is what kind of secures it in place. So you can just lift that off and leave it off, and then you've just got like kind of like the more old school mesh front that you've seen. I haven't seen those on cases in a while, but just that like mesh front that Thermaltake kind of used for a while. Everyone kind of used it for a while, and then you've got the two exposed 1/4 inch, 5 1/4 inch drive bays there, so you could put an optical drive, fan controller, LED controller, what have you. but also that even if you did want to put the front piece back on, it actually works in a way that would still allow you to do that, because the where the hooks are on the bottom, you can kind of just pull it forward from the top where you could slip your hand in, and it'll just kind of hang forward. And I believe it would be just enough that you could still operate an optical drive if you needed to get in and out of there on occasion.
Right, gotcha. Yeah, I will say I like the way they've compartmentalized the power supply and drives without necessarily turning it into a shroud, because
Yeah.
that's like so popular. It's a little overdone right now.
I mean, I've always been a fan of the shrouds because it can kind of help hide the cable management,
Right,
especially if you use extensions. Because some cases you just have to get extensions rather than getting full custom cables, what some power supply. Not I say cases, I should say instances, so that we don't get anyone confused here.
right.
But in some instances, you may have to use cable extensions. So I don't like having the mustard, ketchup mustard cables kind of showing in the bottom. So I kind of do like the PSU shrouds, but this was good as well. It's got the two SSD things there, and you've got the LED bar, which is there on the bottom also. But yeah, overall, I was very impressed with this case. The only thing that kind of held it back for me from being like 10 out of 10 really was just the black and red color scheme.
Right.
Obviously, not everyone's going to agree with that, but I would just like to see options. I'm okay with them having a black and red one, but just do some options like we've seen NZXT doing different color schemes, different color options. Maybe if they did like an all black version,
Right.
I would certainly like that. Maybe a black and white also, and then
Black
maybe
and white
something.
would look pretty good on that case.
Black and white would look fantastic having that motherboard tray and having that all solid white.
Yeah, yeah, and you've got the classic Trooper, clone trooper look too.
Yep. Yeah. Other than that, though, yeah. Besides the just the limiting color on it, everything on here was top notch. Everything came apart very easily. Putting it back together also very easy on it as well. The tempered glass side panels, which has metal going along the top and the bottom, so when you unlock it with a key, it kind of just leans forward. But when you pick it up, it has like a little lip on the inside for where it latches in, so you can kind of just grab it by that and lift it up and out. So you don't actually need to touch the glass with your fingers, which I
Right.
found to be very nice because I always get fingerprints on these cases when they have.
Yeah, well, tell that to my camera guy, Andrew. I'll do a system build in a case like the S340 Elite, and he comes into work on it, and I'm like, I'm sorry, man, like there's fingerprints everywhere, and we have to clean it before we film it. So that's why I like the Inwin 303, because it's got the little tab that you can pull it out without having to touch the glass.
Yeah. Okay, so last topic before we do a brief Q&A. I can't do a very extended Q&A in here. I got to leave in about 10 minutes. So before we we can. So if you guys want to fire us any questions into the chat now, so we have a few ready before we get out of here, so we can get to as many as possible, then please let us know now. This is just kind of a quick PSA. Assassin's Creed 3 is now available for free. If you've been watching the show, every time they update this, I at least let you guys know about it. They've been doing this to kind of celebrate their 30th anniversary with Ubisoft, where all you got to do is go load up Uplay. You don't need to like pay anything. You don't need to join a membership, anything like that, or like Origin Access, something along those lines. If you just open up Uplay, you can get Assassin's Creed 3 for free right now. Last month they did Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. I believe before that they did The Crew, and they had done like Rayman Origins 1 month. So they've been giving away free games every month, and like big AAA titles as well. So Assassin's Creed 3, I had a lot of fun playing that. It wasn't the best Assassin's Creed of the franchise by far, but it was good, and certainly wouldn't snub my nose at a free game, especially if you haven't played it yet.
What's with all these HBM The chat's been talking about HBM for like 20 minutes now. What spawned this?
I don't know. I have no idea. I had seen there was one thing that Anthony from Tweaktown did. He did a video about HBM. I don't know if you saw that. It was about I think it was about Volta cards having 56 gigabytes of HBM2.
Oh, okay, yeah,
that may have been
it. I mean, it might be possible, I guess, but
I think that's more for the server segment, like the pro, like the Quadro cards, probably.
Yeah, like I see, what is this one? Steve, some guy here said 4 gigabytes of HBM1 equals 6 gigabytes of GDR5. They're not even. It doesn't work that way. You can't directly.
It's just bandwidth. That's all it is having an increased bandwidth, so you can have a larger throughput based on the amount of video memory you have, but you still have the same exact amount of video memory.
Yeah, and you're still going to be limited by shaders and things like that. So, like, you resolve the bandwidth issue, which is always huge, but at the end of the day, you're still stuck in the shader pipe. So it kind of depends on what you're working with. HBM, there's a lot of either, I guess we'll call it misunderstanding in chat. HBM is good for a few major reasons. Probably the biggest one no one talks about is power savings. You cut down huge on power. It sits basically, it's stacked memory. It sits on top of an interposer, on top of basically the substrate that the GPU is on. So it's not the same as being on die, but it's also not on the PCB physically far away from the GPU. So removing physical distance is good. That helps increase, obviously, transaction speed. It decreases latency, things like that. But also, power savings are way better. So that's good because I think people, we do power and thermal tests, and I feel like sometimes we'll get comments that are like, jump to this time for the FPS to skip all the other. No, that stuff's really important. Like power savings, if you cut down on power leakage and power draw, you can do a lot more with that power envelope you have. Because now if you're saving 30 watts on the memory or something, you can put that towards something else, boost your clock or whatever. So that's the main thing with HBM. Steve is HBM3 confirmed. I don't know. We're not even on HBM2. Let's calm down.
Panther had asked my thoughts on the GH4. I've had a chance to mess around with the GH4. It's an absolutely amazing camera. I would advise probably most people to save your money if you're wanting to get something like that and just get the G7. That's what I actually use. The only thing you're really gaining with the GH4 is you're getting, you can do full 4K, so you could do 4096 by 2160, and you also get a clean HDMI out. And that could be a big one. That's a selling point for a lot of people. Having the clean HDMI out means you can just run HDMI directly into a capture card. So if you wanted, you could theoretically use the GH4 as a direct webcam if you wanted to. With the G7, you don't have that advantage. You can use monitors with it, but you can't get a clean HDMI out to a capture card or to a regular display like that. So, yeah, given the choice, I would say save your money and get a G7 unless you absolutely need one of those two features available on the GH4. But they also have the GH5 coming out pretty soon too. So,
what are you shooting with again right now?
Panasonic G7.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I use the G7 with the 12 to 35 f2.8 lens, which is micro four thirds, so it's limiting as far as being able to get a lot of light into the lens. Since it's micro four thirds, you're effectively getting about half the light as a full frame. So I end up having to shoot at a higher ISO, but one of the benefits the G7 actually has over the GH4 is it has much cleaner image on higher ISOs. I could shoot up to like 1600 and still have a really clean image. And in some instances, I've used 3200 when I was on like show floors when it was really dark, having to shoot at 3200 ISO, and even that was still very usable.
Oh, really? That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's still very usable. I mean, it's nowhere near the Sony A7S II where you can get that thing up to like 30,000 and have a clean image. It's insane. That thing is basically night vision. All right. Anything else you saw in here?
Not a ton, other than people asking about AMD drivers, which I'm not going to talk about. Thoughts on the R9 Fury? I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on the R9 Fury?
I want one.
There you go.
Is HBM3 confirmed?
I'm not sure, honestly. I'd have to look. I'm focused right now on HBM2 because that's the one that's immediately in the future.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about HBM3. I don't know anything about it, honestly.
I'm sure someone's... I think it was talked about, actually. Yeah, it was talked about back in August. But yeah, I'm focusing my efforts of learning on HBM2.
Yeah, but the R9 Fury, I mean, I think, does he mean the RX? Is that the new one? Is that what he means?
No, I'm talking about the Fury.
The older Fury.
The older Fury, yeah.
The older Fury, I mean, yeah, it's a very strong GPU if you can get one for a good price. I don't know how much I'd be willing to pay for. I'd have to really sit down and analyze the numbers compared to what's available now.
Yeah.
But it could be a good pickup if you find one used for the right price, and it's, I would really go look at the benchmarks, and maybe if you could find some newer benchmarks for the Fury, that could be a good thing to look at.
Yeah. The Fury X is an okay stand-in too. It's a bit more powerful, but that's been on sale a lot lately too. So we're still benching the Fury X. I think a few sites still are.
Yes, Fury is an older card. When I had initially responded and said I want one, I had read it as thinking about the RX Fury, the newer Furies. That's why I was like, yeah, I want one. Why A7S over A7R? I don't know the exact specifics to go ahead and sit here and go into it like I just did with the GH4 and the G7. But everything I have been told by people in the know, and that is basically the guy at Best Buy, and the couple of videos that I've watched quite a few videos about it
Right.
from intelligent like videographers and photographers, things like that. Basically, what the consensus seems to be is that if you're doing video, get the S2. If you're doing photos, get the R2. But I can't sit here and break that down for you as to why. I just know that that's what they say. That's what the people say. Bring back the rage. I think he wants angry fat guy rant.
Is that what that is?
AMD Relive. What's that?
I have never heard of that.
Never, me neither.
I guess we'll have to look into that tomorrow.
Yep. Apparently, Steve's getting his own religion. I heard about this. It's called Steveism.
What the hell is that?
I don't know. Someone they said at the start of the show, like Steveism and Jokerism. These are two religions I can get behind.
Yeah, I've seen them going through chat like the last hour.
Well, I mean, you do have kind of the whole Jesus look going on there with the 5 o'clock shadow and the hair and everything. That is definitely Jesus hair. 420 Blazer Edition. I'd buy that for $1. I'd buy that for $1. I'm not seeing too many questions here in chat.
No.
You guys are making me want to just go right now.
Yeah, I think we pretty much covered them all.
Yeah, I think we got them all today. I guess you guys didn't have too many questions for us. So yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and wind it down though. If you guys want to go ahead and check out Steve over at Gamers Nexus, if you're not subscribed to them yet, I got the link down in the description below to their YouTube channel and their website. You guys are always posting news and reviews and all that stuff over on there. So be sure to hit them up as always. I'm not sure when we'll be able to get Steve again for the show. Probably not until next year sometime, right?
Yeah, maybe late January or something.
Yeah, probably late January. So I'm not sure who's going to be filling in as guest hosts for the rest of the month. I probably will do a show or two by myself and maybe find someone here or there to see who we can get. So, but TGW is not going anywhere. We just had that. I had that 1 week off for Thanksgiving, and that was it though. And that's not going to happen again for anytime soon. So, thanks again for everyone watching. Don't forget to go ahead and leave us a like below if you enjoyed the show. We got like 200 people in chat, so I expect to see at least 200 likes in this video.
Otherwise, YouTube's algorithm will punish you.
Exactly. Yes, yeah. we gotta shake our booties for the likes. I need to see.
Make sure you set the right thumbnail.
I need 500,000 likes, or I'm canceling TGW. I'm gonna do a PewDiePie. I'm deleting this channel at 81,000 subscribers. You hear that? He's gonna delete his channel at 50 million.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you believe him?
No.
No. I mean, he is at a point where he has so many subscribers where he could just go start a new channel. It wouldn't be that big of a deal, but I don't know why he would. It's like, what are you gaining from that? It's like, I remember early on doing YouTube, I was just like, I'm going to start a new channel for gaming and a new channel for this and a new channel for that. It's just like, no, just one channel. It's all going under one banner. If you don't like a particular video, don't watch it.
Right, yeah.
I learned that a long time ago. I would hope PewDiePie knew that. Come on, Pewds. Get on my level, bro. Bruh. All right, we'll catch you guys next time.
See ya.
Tura.